Happy birthday, Nintendo Switch. It is 6 years old today. To the day, today. And just to be needlessly redundant, I cannot. It's hard to believe this little boy, this little system is 6 years old. I can't. Well, not this one exactly. This is the OLED. You get what I'm saying? Wild stuff. So we're here to talk about it. We're here to celebrate the 6th anniversary and talk about, of course, the future of Nintendo Switch, possibly including a Switch successor, as if that hasn't been discussed enough. There we go. We got the OG one there, right? That's the original. Is that the original? Nope. That's OLED 2. Okay, Joey's got us covered. Thank you, Joey. All right. Chat, how are you?
It's kind of the original. It's the one with the bigger battery. But
oh, okay. Yeah, the revision 2 of, the first gen. That counts. We'll say that counts. That's in the spirit of the original. Chat, how's it going? Are you having a good day today? Let us know if you're excited for the Switch's 6th anniversary, and also let us know how we're all sounding, because we can't tell ourselves. So if we're sounding quiet or too loud, let us know. Jake, or actually real quick before we get into it, so, as I think I mentioned, we'll be touching on some of the Switch rumors. Like, for whatever reason, Switch 2 discourse comes and goes. Right now, it's kind of in a bit of a hot streak at the moment. We'll be touching on that soon enough. But for right now, I want to focus on the celebration of the Switch being 6, which, in Nintendo terms, that's insane. Like, Nintendo consoles rarely reach this age while being so vibrant at the same time. Such a vibrant ecosystem. But, Jake, I want to know, what do you think this means for the Switch? Like, how do you feel about the Switch now being 6 years old at this point? Are you surprised it's made it this long without a successor on the horizon?
Not at all. I feel like it might be a bit of a hot take right now. I feel like the Switch is doing great. I am not thirsting for a Switch 2 or Switch Pro, any of that stuff. This year has really reignited end of last year, I think, my love of the system. And I've just been enjoying so many games on it. I think for me, the what's on my mind with the Switch entering its 6th year is that I'm starting to ask myself, is this the greatest Nintendo console of all time? And I think more specifically, I've been going through like different game franchises in my head and being like, man, this might be the best system for Metroid. This might be the best system for Mario. This might, it's definitely not the best system for Zelda or Star Fox. But, like, it's, you know what I mean? I think you can go through, maybe it is for Kirby, and start to make a claim like that, like, at that level for Nintendo Switch. That's what's on my mind, yeah.
Those are really good points. However, I have to take issue with one. I think Jake or Joey might take issue with one of those statements being the ultimate Metroid machine. Joey, tell Jake why he's wrong about this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Andre, you missed my tweet a while back where I posted the screenshot of that video I made like mid-2021 saying this is not going to age well.
It's still true, though. It's still technically true. There's more Metroid experiences on the Wii U than there are on Switch.
That's true, but that's about to change, baby. That is about to change.
That's pretty confident. Do you think we're getting Metroid Prime 2 and 3 soon, then?
Oh, heck yes, dude.
Agreed.
Like, we seriously are. And same with Zero Mission. That's going to come on the GBA at some point, too. I don't know about this year. Hopefully this year, because I want that Metroid blowout this year. All we need now is a remaster of Metroid Samus Returns, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but you can't play Samus Returns on the Wii U either. So I think the Switch is about to be the king of Metroid games. But whether this year, early next, whenever Prime 4 comes out.
Yeah, I think, Jake, you kind of brought up a good point there. Like, the Switch, it has access. It provides access to not only the most modern experiences for all these franchises, barring ones that haven't returned, like F-Zero, sadly, but its catalog of retro experiences continues to grow. Adding GBA and GBA has been such a highlight. Like, I've been having a blast playing those GBA games online that I largely missed back in the day because it was a giant pain in the butt. And now, I feel like Switch Online, I think the momentum of the negativity, from launch, like, has had such, like, it's carried over for far longer than it has deserved, but I feel like it's finally starting to buck that now that we have 64, now that GoldenEye's on there, now that we have all these classic Game Boy experiences, and we can enjoy them again with multiplayer now, far easier than you could back in the day on actual hardware without link cables, multiple copies of the game. Like, it's providing, in some ways, new experiences that most people have never been able to partake in before, even especially for those who weren't around in those eras. I think the Switch, to your point, Jake, I think it's almost the strongest it's ever been. Like, I feel like it's kind of like this past year, this past Direct especially, really kind of showed there's still life left in this baby. With Mario Kart's, still firing at all cylinders, people are getting more excited for each wave of DLC because not only do the tracks look better, they're adding new features each time, new characters. Like, they're doing such a great job, like a far better job than they have in past generations of like maintaining momentum, keeping people excited for the existing and upcoming games, even if we don't know a ton of stuff beyond Zelda, for instance. But I feel like they're just kind of firing all cylinders right now, and it's to the point, which I know Joey is going to disagree with, that I also like. I'm not even really thinking much about Switch 2. Like, I am in the sense that as a content creator, of course, it's on our minds. But as one who also has an Xbox and PlayStation, I'm like, I'm fine with the Switch right now. Like, I can play the better looking games on those systems, but for right now, playing Metroid Prime Remastered, that looked amazing. I'm like, this does not feel like a 6-year-old console is based on, at the time, 3 to 4-year-old hardware. So,
and there are still the games too that I find myself opting for on Nintendo Switch and being so glad that I can. Right now I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2, game that launched on PlayStation, Xbox, PC as well. Could not imagine playing that anywhere else but my sweet little handheld Switch, having the time of my life. And to the point of the NSO stuff, I think something that gets overlooked a lot with this, because I know the Wii U had a vast virtual console library, is that the NSO emulators, I think, are far superior to the ones that we've had in the past, at least to me, they just
well, the screens aren't completely dark most of the time when you're playing these games. Yeah, so that's a huge improvement right there. So
yeah, and I just feel like the multiplayer stuff, the way that app works, the save states, I don't know, man. And it being like an actual handheld, like a Nintendo 64 game coming out on the Switch is just so much more enticing to me than having one on a console that is, tethered to the television in some way, shape, or form. So the Switch is. It's hard for me to say the Switch is not the best Nintendo console of all time. It's hard for me to argue anything else. But really I'm also a bit of I'm a bit of a young baby, so.
You're a young baby, yeah. I mean, I always have a soft spot for the GameCube, right? But I would never claim that that's the best console ever made, or the best Nintendo console. What was that, Andre?
I was gonna say, I wonder if people would disagree with me, but I feel like GameCube has almost aged better than how it was received at the time. I feel like in
100%.
hindsight, yeah. I feel like it holds better in hindsight.
It's that meme from Back to the Future. Oh, guess you guys weren't ready for that, but your kids are gonna love it.
That's exactly it.
Except the kids are now adults, but I still think the Switch 2 is coming out next year at the latest. There's the Switch has a lot going for it right now, but I'm still thinking like it's still dangerous for Nintendo to how do I put this lightly? Remember the Wii and how popular it was?
What was the Wii?
There is no Wii.
Like the royal Wii? Like,
Wii, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like that system was really successful, but it kind of, I feel like the interest in it waned so badly near the end of its life. It doesn't help that Nintendo was not supporting that system as well as it could have in its last year. And I think the telltale sign of that we're almost heading towards the Switch 2 will come after Tears of the Kingdom. Or no, more so after Pikmin 4. Like, what's their lineup going to look like after Pikmin 4 is coming out? Like, how strong is it? And that's when I think we'll figure out, hey, maybe they're gearing up for an announcement for the next console, whatever that's going to be. And it's weird because Wii U, we thought about that. They were like ready to just ditch that system, right? They announced in 2015, yeah, we're already working on something else. Like, yeah. And then but here it's like they don't need to do that because the Switch is still selling like crazy. I'm really excited for Pikmin 4, y'all. Like, it's gonna have a good first half of the year. But the next half of this year, well, I'm sure we'll find out soon enough what the latter half of this year holds. But I'm still thinking they can still announce a new system without it really not because they're not going to kill the Switch like when the next system comes out. The Switch is too big to ignore, and especially if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, and they could easily still give those two attention, if that makes sense.
I mean, just to kind of continue praising the Switch after so long, I think something Nintendo proved here is that the main conceit of the Switch, the hybrid console thing, is a winner. And I think it's a winner in a way that even the Wii was not a winner. at the Wii, like you were saying, Joey, I think a lot of us aged out of the Wii, and there was a certain amount of time that passed where we got tired of the motion controls and we got tired of that gimmick, that conceit, that idea. Whereas here I am, year 6 of the Switch, going, I gotta play Octopath Traveler on my Switch as opposed to these other consoles because that main conceit is still so attractive.
Yep.
And I think that what having that little tablet with the controllers on it, what that means for people of all ages, from kids to millennials to older people, the way that is, if like, this is such a dumb comparison, but I think it'll illustrate my point, is that like, to get an experience on PlayStation VR, the amount of friction that you have to go through as a human being, setting it up, getting all the stuff connected, it's a whole process. I kind of feel like the Switch is the other end of that spectrum. It is
products provided by PlayStation. Sorry,
yeah,
I didn't say that.
it is the simplest, most direct. You don't even have to put it on a TV. You press on, it's just like your phone. That menu, a baby could understand that menu. Like it's and I think that matters.
That's a really good point. The Switch does get, there's a lot of good points in there, but the Switch gets a lot of flack still for its kind of like dated menus. Like we still don't have themes, for instance. But I have to say, after, I've been playing a lot more of my Xbox and PlayStation recently, and I cannot stand the menus in either of those. It makes me like appreciate the simplicity of the Switch. I know by and large, there are a few exceptions where exactly how to do anything on that system. I know where it is. It's easy to access. With, again, a handful of exceptions, and I appreciate that. Like, if I want to hop into a game, it's instant. I know exactly where it is. Whereas, yeah, it's a little bit more cumbersome on the other systems. And, and even with the PSVR 2, even though they've greatly simplified that compared to the PSVR 1, like, it's a single cable, which is awesome. Like, that's so much better than the hour setup of the original. But even that, you have to move things out of the way to make room for it, and compared to the Oculus, it's a little bit cumbersome. I'm still afraid I'm gonna just, two things I'm afraid of. One, I'm just gonna rip that PS5 off my shelf or something when I, get too excited. And two is I'm gonna smack my TV, because you essentially have to play next to your TV because your PS5 set up there. It's not wireless. So, anyways, we're getting off the point here. Yeah, the Switch, like, for as much as it hasn't changed since launch, it's held up surprisingly well. And I think there are, of course, clear areas that can improve it for the next one. But yeah, like, I look at it and it doesn't, and it helps on playing on this gorgeous OLED screen, but it doesn't feel like a dated piece of hardware. Like, it still largely feels like a fairly modern device. Like, almost no one else is doing anything akin to it aside from the Steam Deck. And I was actually going to ask you about that, Jake. Like, how's your Steam Deck usage compared to the Switch recently? Are you still playing it as much as you did when you got it a few months ago, or?
Yeah. So I really like the Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is definitely my it is really hard to get me to play games on PC. I'm just not into that. I really like playing games on my Steam Deck. And the weird thing is, when it gets compared to the Switch, I always look at them as completely separate.
Yeah.
They just feed different parts of me. And Octopath Traveler, a great example. I could have gotten that on Steam, but I opted to get it on Nintendo Switch because I like the lightness, and I like the you come from sleep mode, you turn it on, you're right in. It's like all of just that.
You get the good battery life too.
You get the good battery life. It's not. I don't have to go through the Steam stuff to start playing the game. It's all that stuff. And I think that, like I was saying earlier, I really think that stuff matters. But just as like a human being in other ways that like is kind of like, I've always been a little bit interested in PC gaming. That is the main appeal of the Steam Deck for me. Yeah.
It will never cease to surprise me how the Steam Deck managed to slide by on that terrible battery life. When the Switch got destroyed initially for its, now seemingly relatively impressive battery life by comparison to the Steam Deck. And I'm like, if that had Nintendo launched with a Steam Deck's battery life, they would have been destroyed. They would have been destroyed even more, than than whatever articles came out at the time. In any case, doesn't matter. But yeah, I agree with you, Jake. Like, I think they're two different. They're serving two different markets. Both are impressive devices in their own right, and they're really not competition for each other. But that isn't to say that Nintendo couldn't learn something from the Steam Deck, and vice versa, I'm sure. But yeah, I guess I just kind of want to like circle back to it, being 6 years old today, like it really 6 years ago to the day, back in 2017, and that's still wild to me because it's so rare that you have a Nintendo platform that not only lasts this long, but without even not even any official hints of a successor coming down the pike. Now, there have been countless rumors. There have been leaks, particularly from Nvidia, which seemingly suggest a new chipset is in the works for a Switch successor. So it definitely seems one at the least is probably coming sooner than later. But again, we haven't even had a hint of this officially, and it really speaks to the strength of the Switch that it's lasted as long as it has without having to announce a successor. Because I don't think we've had this for a console from Nintendo since the Famicom, not even the NES, since the Famicom. Because by the time we know of a Switch 2, I assume we'll be approaching its 7th year at the soonest, and that's just impressive. The only other, I think, system that would approach that would be the original Game Boy, which of course had like a 9 or 10 year lifespan before they announced the Game Boy Color. So,
and I'm thinking about like compare the 6th year of the Wii to the 6th year of the Switch. No comparison.
Not
because
at all.
as I said earlier, like when the Wii was reaching that point, people didn't really care that much about it, and Nintendo was focusing a lot on the transition from the Wii to the Wii U, something they should have focused on better, of course. But that's pretty much what happened there. But the Switch, we're still looking forward to games coming out on it, even 6 years later. That's let alone just the fact that we're getting a sequel to Breath of the Wild, which is also 6 years old today. So there you go, just a really good system all around.
It kind of speaks to the strength of the Switch's ecosystem, its demographic, like the people that are playing it, that they still want to play games on it. Part of the problem with the Wii, was they went for the Blue Ocean strategy, which meant you picked up a lot of people who just didn't care beyond those first few experiences. Like they had their Wii Sports Machine and that's all they needed, or Wii Fit or whatever. And that wasn't a strong base on which to build an entire platform, as we saw, because it petered out in its final few years. It went from the hottest thing to dropping like a rock. It's like how Marvel movies open these days and then drop immediately after.
Yep.
And the Switch has not had that. Its sales, I think, are, we are starting to see some softening in sales, but even still, like for a platform in its 6th year, it's incredibly impressive. And, or entering its 7th year, I should say. And I think that's because they built it on the strength of just being about the games again. Like the smartest thing that they've done is that they merged their platform, their handheld and their console line into a single platform, and that has allowed them to just really focus in on that entirely. It's meant that we've had almost no droughts in games. I feel like there's almost too many games now. Nintendo needs to slow the roll. Too many. I can't keep up. There's too much to play. I've barely even played the GBA games I want to. But
I also think the thing that always comes to my mind with focusing on the games and what we're talking about is, again, the gimmick. And I think having a non-intrusive gimmick, a gimmick
Right.
that you can ignore, a gimmick
Which
that
I do, actually.
you can, right. And many people do. And I think that there is something important about that you can, like, we see that Pro Controller, and I think it's like 99% of Switch games, you are good to go. You can play them totally ignoring the way that this thing works. And that, when we talk about the Switch successor, that is the number one thing on my mind, is will there be an intrusive gimmick? And I think about this all the time, and I kind of think that there will be.
Really?
Oh, you think so?
I do. I think I know what it is too. I think I know what it is.
Tell me, prediction time. Let's do it.
I don't think I've said this on a piece of content yet, but I'm like fairly confident. I think when we see the successor to the Switch, we're gonna have a whole big demo thing, a video showcasing its ability to do AR.
Oh my god.
Wow.
The 3DS did that though, so I don't know if they'd make that mistake again.
No, it's not a mistake. They love it, and I truly think that Nintendo really likes AR technologies. I think there's a passion for it over there, which is why we kind of see it pop up here and there, even at something like Super Nintendo World. And I guess I just have this vision of Nintendo, maybe wanting to get into the VR space. We see that with Labo, but the friction with VR is there's too much. It's like hard to really sell that to really young kids, which is a big part of their audience. And I also think that VR has the hurdle of, it makes people sick. So what is the and that's always going to be there. That's always going to create friction. So I think that there is a middle ground here with AR, with and like just putting some cameras on this puppy and giving it some AR functionality. I really do. I see this for the console. So
I mean, you could be right. Nintendo has been on this bit of an AR streak. Of course, it started arguably with a 3DS, where they dabbled with it briefly with the pack-in games and a couple of others. And then we've seen it more recently with Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, where you can play a Mario Kart game in your house. We've seen it with the Mario Kart ride at Universal Studios. It wouldn't shock me if they do throw on the camera just to experiment with it. I cannot imagine it being a cornerstone, and I don't even want it to be, because I feel like it does not, like, it's just not ergonomic. I don't like using AR, you know, like, if I'm holding a device. I don't want to, like, aim around constantly or have my house become the play place for it. I actually think VR would have a better chance, maybe, just because, you know, I think Labo showed that you can make this with like cheap headset and have a fairly convincing VR experience. But even that, it's hard. I don't know if we're gonna see Nintendo go back to it. So I can't imagine it being like a major piece of the Switch 2 puzzle.
I just find it so hard to believe, really quick, that like I feel like Nintendo doesn't like, for the non-enthusiast crowd, does not like the idea of putting something out that's like, it's a more powerful thing we had before.
Right.
I think philosophically that doesn't jive with them. So if it's not AR, I feel like even something non-intrusive, you know, wireless docking, maybe a foldable screen.
Oh my god.
Wireless docking.
Maybe,
that's one thing I actually really want. But what other ideas did you have?
I also put down next generation glasses free 3D.
Oh my god.
And here's my Hail Mary. This one is not gonna happen. But I was like, imagine you have a Switch and you put it on your table and like a hologram.
Okay, now we're getting carried away.
My goodness. Yeah. Here's the thing. I at the same time, I do just, if the next console is just a more powerful Switch, like, I wouldn't mind that too much. But I do like your line of thinking, Jake, because we've always loved Nintendo for their creativity, for better or for worse. They've had ideas that have landed, they've had ideas that have miserably failed, but if we don't have that level of creativity in this industry, it'd be kind of boring, right? So I am kind of thinking, like, I would love it if Nintendo, because if Nintendo just made more powerful Switches for the rest of time, that would just be incredibly boring. So I feel like it would be cool to see like some new idea for this next console. Of course, still keep the Switch concept going. You don't ever get away from that. But I also want to talk about something Andre said a while back, where in the past, Nintendo has always iterated on their ideas for at least one more console. And then when that console didn't sell as much, they've tried something different. Do you foresee something like that happening, Andre?
I think so. I think I also think they'd be foolish to not follow that model again. And I think, but I think that, you know, as I said before, historically, like, each one sells less than the previous one. And I think that's where they're going to want to buck that trend this time. And I really do think that this would be like the softest next generation rollover we've ever had. Like, I don't think Nintendo wants that hard cutoff point again. We're starting from where you're hitting the reset button. You're starting off with a whole new market, market demographic or whatever, where everyone has to buy back into it. I don't think it makes sense. I just can't imagine them wanting to do that again. It's a huge risk, and I don't know if that benefits really anyone. I think it makes sense for them to treat it as not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to call it a Switch Pro, but I feel like treating it more like that than a hard successor is the smartest way to go. Treat it more like the iPhone, where each one is backwards compatible with everything. It's not just backwards compatible, though. I'm talking forwards compatible. I think they should go. We saw this before with the Game Boy Color, and I think they should go that route again, where every game will work on both systems, by and large, and you get enhancements on the Switch 2, where eventually it'll roll over to you start getting exclusives down the line that only work on the Switch 2. But I feel like for the first few years, I think that's the way to handle it, where it's like, hey, if you want to upgrade, you can. You'll get 4K, you know, maybe get some other new features, you know, maybe RTX, maybe, based on some of the rumors, who knows. Whatever it is. Yeah. I just can't imagine them, though, being like, hey, new Mario's coming out, it's only working on Switch 2, and that's it. You know, good, you know, right, go pick it up.
Let's talk about that, too, because it reminds me a lot of the transition, or this new console generation that we're in. PS4 to PS5, Xbox 100%. One to Series X. It's like a lot of people tell me, a lot of people say, why would Nintendo want to come out with a new console? The Switch is doing so well. You could have said that to Sony. The PS4 was doing so well in 2020. That did not stop them from coming out with the PS5. And a lot of the PS5 games that have come out since then, a lot of the exclusives rather, we're still getting PS4 games, like, 100%. To this day.
God of War Ragnarok is a PS4 game.
Exactly. So
that's crazy.
That's what I'm thinking is going to happen with the Switch. Like, I don't see it happening any other way.
You know what this makes me think of though? It's like I do think there has to be it makes me wonder what the pitch will be for people outside of the enthusiast base, because I do think there has to be one. And this is
Mhm.
kind of strange, but it almost reminds me of, speaking of the Switch's 6th year anniversary, I'm thinking about the things I thought were going to happen for the Switch and then just never did. And something that like shocks me all the time is that they didn't have. I thought when we first saw the Switch, for sure, there was going to be a suite of Joy-Con. And like so many games were gonna have exclusive Joy-Con that like were like fishing rods and like all these different things that you could put on the
Labo.
side that were game.
Kind of had that.
You kind of, yeah, kind of like that, yeah. And I was so surprised. I'm so surprised that like 6 years later, I think that's my biggest surprise that we're still doing this. I think that's like really blowing me away. So I wonder if new Switch, they're gonna show off a pair of Joy-Con that's gonna make me go, oh, that'd be cool.
Oh my god.
You
Not
didn't say the
Lady
word.
Jake again.
Not-
Yeah. I think part of the appeal of the Switch is that it is simple. Like, you have this, you have everything you need. I think you start introducing more Joy-Cons, that's going to complicate the entire idea of the Switch, where I don't think people want to have to drag around and put a ton of accessories with them. And maybe that's part of the problem Labo ran into, is that I have like half my closet is dedicated to these cardboard contraptions that, work for like a game or two at best. Totally worth it for Labo VR though. That was great. But yeah, I feel like, I look at the Switch and I feel like it's hard to imagine how much more can they improve on it. I feel like with the advent of VR, I feel like we peaked in terms of like gimmicks or novelty that they can add to it. Like, what more can you do for a console beyond full one-to-one controls? Like, I don't know. Like, bring back the analog triggers, I guess. Like, I honestly don't know what more they can do in terms of like gimmicks in quotes that they haven't
this
already done.
great gimmick. I have this
got it.
great gimmick that Nintendo should hop on right away. Joy-Cons that don't drift. Come
Yes,
on.
that'd be amazing.
yeah. Do we think that I think this is an easy one. Maybe it's too easy. The return of dual screen gaming. And I'm not talking about it looks like a DS. I'm talking about wireless dongle to the TV with the capability of outputting two separate images.
That's honestly what I want the most, and not just for the dual screen gaming, but also just so I don't have to drag my dock everywhere I want to play it. Like, if I go to a hotel, if I just had like a little dongle or something that I can just connect to the TV, that'd be awesome. And if it adds like dual screen gameplay at the same time, that lets you then bring over Nintendo Land, bring over DS games as well. Like, that would be, and also open new gameplay experiences possibly too. I don't think they would focus on that just because that complicates everything, but just having the option would be so nice.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. It's we're kind of going into the whole, if we complicate things too much, people are just going to be like, "What?" and then just go away from it completely. But I still want that, and I feel like there's still a way you can communicate that shit to the general public. Also, not every game needs to be dual screen at the same time. There could be like a
100%.
there could be a select few games, and it could work for the DS Virtual Console or whatever Switch Online app, whatever it'd be at that point. Because I need to play Metroid Prime Pinball, guys. I've never played Metroid Prime Pinball. I'm sorry, I'm a
You
fake
call yourself
fan.
a Metroid fan? You haven't played the best Metroid Prime game? What is this, Joey? Disgusting.
I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna goodbye, everyone.
I will say though, now the more that we talk about this, the more I am starting to maybe think that, it's a little bit of a different time. When we talk about going from the Wii to the Wii U and all these other, like, the way Nintendo has done things in the past, a lot of this is largely before it being commonplace was something like the iPhone, which we all understand and are familiar with, and I think the general public understands and is familiar with now. So, like, is it really that outside of the realm of possibility that Nintendo announces this thing? It looks like a Switch. Maybe it's got some different colors. Maybe it's got some smoother edges, and other things going on. But that's just what it is.
I think it's basically, I mentioned the Game Boy Color before, but in console terms, it'll be like a Super Nintendo. It'll be the same thing, but a little bit better. Super Nintendo didn't really change all that much beyond adding a couple of buttons. And I feel like the Switch has room for refinement. They can, obviously fix the drift. They can probably improve the triggers, in my opinion. I don't know. They can make a ton of
I mean, the
smaller
graphics
changes.
on the Super NES were a little better too, just a little.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I mean. Like, it was just a hardware. It was largely a spec bump.
Hardware, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that could be the case here too. Honestly, we've talked about this before. If they just market it as being 4K capable, I feel like that's all you need. Like, that's all the selling you need. People will buy that.
Yeah,
The hardcore
Slap
fans,
that 4K image on the.
Oh yeah,
on the
you know
box.
the one.
Yes.
Yeah, right there with you, Joey. My dream is that I really want the sticks to be taller. I want a taller stick. It's not tall enough, and that is my main problem. Yeah.
Getting back to your point, Jake, earlier of more Joy-Cons, that may not be a bad way. Like, why hasn't Nintendo made like Joy-Con Pro or something, right? Their own version, yeah, where they are more like full controllers. I know there's third-party accessories that basically do that, but having an official one that would be nice. Bring back those GameCube joysticks, baby.
I also really like the idea you brought up, Andre, earlier of the forward compatibility because I feel like that is kind of built into the Switch already as it stands. And the idea of even just like I'm sure they could figure it out that with a future Switch piece of hardware on the handheld, it is now giving you the performance that the games had when they were docked. It's know, and I can't imagine that is too hard of a thing for Nvidia to bake into the hardware there. Yeah.
I hope not. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that just makes the most sense. It's the most risk-free way. I mean, I guess the drawback to that is it might lead to a slower adoption of your next system. But again, I think this works to Nintendo's benefit. It should be more about the long game than the short game, and you want to just hold on to that Switch user base across any platform for as long as you can. And if you're still buying games,
that's Xbox's strategy for the longest time. If you're playing on Xbox, we win either way. So.
That's exactly it. I think that's a model Nintendo should be going for, especially because I think I'm sure they're making a profit on the Switch now. I forget if they were at launch. But, Nintendo's making most of the profit off games. Like, as long as they're buying Switch games, that's really all that matters. I will say the one reason they may want people to upgrade, though, is just to get to the point where, obviously, the first generation of the Switch was very hackable, apparently, and that might be Nintendo's main incentive for getting people off of it. But I feel like if they offer a platform that is, even if it's still playing the same games, if it's playing those games at a margin enough better than on the current Switch, people are going to want to play on that system anyway. So I feel like that kind of avoids that problem as well. But
all I'm saying is I'm glad this isn't my job figuring out how to market a next console or come up with ideas, because you might think something's obvious, but then like an obvious choice, but then you'll get into like financials and like, oh, will people be incentivized to buy a Switch that's just more powerful? And I'm just like, I'm so glad that somebody else gets paid to figure that out.
Joey,
it just sounds like a nightmare.
I'm totally with you. And I think people underestimate sometimes this, like, when you reach a certain level of market saturation, like the Wii, like the Switch, I think there is a huge chunk of that audience that no matter what you put out, they're not buying the next thing. They're, if not for many years later. It's just weird. We talk about this audience as if, well, they're all there. How do we move them all over on day one?
Yeah, you're not.
To this other thing. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
You can't even if you wanted to, you can't. Look at, PlayStation 5 struggled for only until recently getting enough units out there to sell to their demographic that wants them. So they're basically already limiting. They're already physically limited to how many people they can even target initially, and if they want to start over as a new generation.
Crazy stuff. It really makes me wonder like what their strategy is going to be. And I think like from my non-business like degree brain thinks like the best way they can do that is not focus too much on like trying to get this new console into the hands of a lot of people already. Play that long game. As long as people are playing on a Switch platform, like that should be enough for them, at least for now. Like the way Xbox is doing it. Like, you're playing on Xbox, fine by us. Series S, Series X, One, who cares?
Kind of to that point, too, a benefit of this whole thing is something the real Sean reminded me of, where they say they didn't buy a Switch until 2021. And what I like, too, about what appeals to me as a consumer for a more like a softer generation rollover is it doesn't matter when I buy in. Like, if I held off this long on a console, typically, I'd be afraid of it's going to be outdated instantly. They're going to release a new system, all the games are going to be available for it. But if they can avoid that problem, that makes it, in the future, I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm more willing to buy into a generation at any point rather than waiting for what may be next. And I think it just leads to a healthier ecosystem in general, where people aren't afraid to hop in at any time. They don't need the next system the day it launches, and so on. So
yeah, I regret not buying an OLED. I thought when the OLED came out, like, oh, we're gonna see a new Switch soon, and then we're still hearing not no Switch. So now I'm like, I should have bought one. But at this point, I'll just wait for the next one. We got a super chat though from Cascade Spiral. Thank you so much for the super chat. What about a dual screen Switch where the top screen is detachable and doubles as your wireless TV dock?
Whoa.
I'm trying to process.
That's a wild idea. You know what? I love that.
Here's your okay, because if you have dual screen gaming, the question is, how do you keep that when you're in handheld mode? I think I've got it. This is stupid, but buckle up. What if the back of your Switch could be a projector?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. That Joy-Con batteries, or those batteries are gonna take a hit.
Oh man, remember that phone? There was a phone that had a projector screen on it, and like that it came out like when Avatar, the first one, came out. I don't remember. I just remember seeing commercials for it all the time, and that was a trend that definitely stuck, didn't it?
That projector technology has come a long way. Not gonna
true.
lie, those things are not as hard to do as you would think right now. So
yeah.
You know, I was playing Kirby 64 on my friend's projector, and like we just set up against a random wall. I'm like, okay, this is pretty freaking sweet. I don't know if I can picture Nintendo doing that as like a base build into the Switch, but you know what? Yeah. Sure, why not?
I feel like the TikTok kids would really like it. I don't know why. I just feel like they'd be all about it. I don't know.
I understood. I totally understood all that. Like, that's a TikTok trend. Another super chat from Omni Kirby. Thank you so much for the $5. No comment.
Oh, they followed up with a comment.
They did. So what about the Nintendo Switch games be on PC like the Yuzu emulator?
Okay, so just better. They just perform better. They just perform better. I think is the heart of this question. And I think that's the dream. That's the dream with any console going forward, is that you can log in with the name that you have on this one, download your old games, and they maybe even give you a reason to go back and play them. You go, oh man, this looks so much better than it did before. I'm playing Mario Odyssey again. You know, it's like that's awesome. Yeah.
My dream is a 60 FPS patch for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Ooh, you know what Nintendo system actually did that to me?
What?
DS Lite. Oh man, I was going back playing DS games going, whoa, yeah, it was awesome.
Because you could see them.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I mean, kind of to that point, Game Boy Color was similar in that it retroactively enhanced all the games because they were now in color, even if they came out before the Game Boy Color. And Super Game Boy did the same thing. And I think like they updated the previous games to take advantage of a new Switch. That's another great way of promoting the new platform. It's like, hey, you want to relay these games looking better than ever? Here you go. And the emulator comment kind of touched on the fact that we've seen pictures and videos of them running on emulators, and these games look amazing at higher resolutions and higher frame rates. And it shows you that, like, the Switch is the Switch is capable of base visuals that with Nintendo's art style. It just looks good in general still, and I think they will hold up on. I mean, I think it would look great on a newer platform. So.
Yeah, do you remember when the Steam Deck had a trailer that had Yuzu in?
Oh my god!
That was very
they
funny.
Pulled it.
Yeah,
it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
What do we think of all the rumors that have been going around recently? As if there aren't always rumors surrounding it, but we've had some interesting ones recently with that supposed Pokemon leaker who mentioned a patch coming to Pokemon Violet and Scarlet that would enhance it on a Switch successor. But then independently of that, there's been word of another Switch leaker who apparently worked at, I guess, a factory that's now been banned from talking about their job for leaking stuff. Jay, can you fill us in on some of these more recent developments?
Yeah, okay. So the thing that I want to say before we dive into all of this too is that I think we all kind of acknowledge that by this time next year, we will probably have heard of whatever this next piece of hardware is. Mm-hmm. If not being released within a couple months from now next year, or it's the announcement is imminent. So be that as it may, I'm about to explain a few things. varying levels of legitimacy, and I don't think any of this takes away from the fact that we pretty much know the end result to be true. So let us continue. First,
Yeah.
the Pokemon Presents leaker. We had a 4chan post before the Pokemon Presents, days before it. That listed obviously every single thing that was in that presentation, so specific that it definitely was not a guess. This is somebody who definitely saw the presentation 100%. At the end of this list of announcements in the Presents, they said, and to align with the second DLC coming out for Scarlet and Violet, they are working on a patch for those games that will improve the graphics for the new Switch models. English, not this part. This was a machine translated thing. So obviously there's a lot of room for error there, even with just the word models. That is, So that person later followed up and kind of reiterated that this was, they used a Japanese word, which does in fact mean next generation, which to me is like pretty definitive. But the way that that post read to Jake was that I just can't imagine this person having this set of information. It sounded like it was somebody who saw the presentation and put this little piece of information in at the end, because there was not for them to have the job that they claimed to have, which I can't remember off the top of my head now, for them to only know the exact contents of the Presents video and not a single thing more, incredibly suspect, along with some other suspect things in that rumor/leak.
Real quick, Smash Brother in the chat is saying that the person was a programmer. Was that
correct?
They were a programmer. Okay.
They said they were a programmer. They clarified what their job was in a way that was also suspect. That made it seem like it was too easy to track them down. So I'm okay. Putting that aside,
before you continue, I do want to get to the super chat real quick from Bowser Jr. Thank you so much. I think it's ridiculous it takes Nintendo a whole month to put one Nintendo 64 GBA game on their service. It's not about getting rights with the license sometimes, so I don't know what takes so long. Yep.
Bowser Jr. Heck yeah. Right. I was just thinking about that this morning. This drip feed of the GBA games. No. Control Alt Delete. I hate it.
Yeah. Let them come out faster. But yeah, Jake, let's keep going with these the spicy rumors that you're talking about.
Okay. Now, separate human being. This person has, I'm gonna say, legitimacy. This is somebody who works allegedly works in a Chinese factory that often manufactures things for Nintendo. And we know that this particular user has legitimacy because before anybody knew about the Switch OLED, they were talking about a Switch model that had a new kind of, what do we call this? Kickstand. Yeah. And described this and like was totally on it about this and some other things as well. This person has been banned from where they post their information, Fammy boards, at the request of Nintendo, which seems like maybe some step in the manufacturing process is about to start, and maybe Nintendo wants to plug some holes, some leaky holes, if you will. And I also don't think it's a coincidence that Nintendo has announced a new Nintendo Switch bundle, obviously, to try and get rid of some extra stock of non-OLED Switch units, and maybe doesn't want any rumors or leaks about another system that would hold up purchases of that bundle out there. I think Nintendo taking down this person's account is a much better indication of what I started this whole conversation saying, something we kind of already know, which is within the next year, we will have a much better idea of what the Switch successor is. Lock it in.
Real quick, DNA Bro clarifies, and I think this is what you meant, Jake, that the person who posted about that from the factory, they posted on the Chinese board, but Fammy Boards is reporting on it. Is that correct? Okay, yeah. It wasn't posted to Fammy Boards.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
It was a forum post of a forum post.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Joey.
why. That's why that's why I'm not like getting too excited about like these rumors, or I'm not questioning their credibility. They could be credible. They could not be. I think it's just we all think it at this point. Like at some point, either later this year, early next year, we're going to know a lot more about this Switch successor. Whether it comes out this year or next year, who knows? But we're going to know something. That's why I'm not like attaching like excitement to these rumors or leaks, because we're just going to get a lot more of them. Buckle up, everyone. This is just the beginning. My
But and like if the rumor or leak doesn't say anything, I think we all need to get a little more litigious about this. If the rumor or leak doesn't say anything about the hardware or games, what are we talking about?
Yep.
Something exists. People have been saying that this thing exists for 4 years. Like what? And it's just not, and I also just don't think it's a very interesting conversation to be like, well, there's a Switch hardware coming out. It's the next thing from Nintendo. It might have a big gimmick, but it also may just be an iterative successor. Who's to say? That's what I've heard. I'm like, okay, that's what is your job? I don't know.
Yeah, such nothing statements. Like I don't care. Like I'm not gonna care about it until it comes from the horse's mouth. Like seriously.
Yeah. Arms 2, you can feel it in your arms. Then I'm like, yes, Insider, tell me more. I love you.
Oh man, that would be. I do want an ARMS sequel, but it's weird because we're still discussing these rumors that have been around forever. Like not a whole lot has changed, except for the fact that it does seem like it's becoming more definitive now. Like what really the biggest thing we've had so far is the Nvidia leak, which effectively confirmed there's absolutely a next gen Switch in the works. To whatever degree, next gen, whoever that means. The real question is timing. Like, when is this going to release? And I think up until recently, I would assume next year might make more sense. But I'm actually starting to think this year might. Yeah, I think it could. So let me rephrase it. I think if it's going to come out, if it gets announced this year, it's coming out this year. Basically, there's no way I think they announce it before its release date this year, because I think that would ruin the Switch's holiday sales, and I don't think Nintendo wants to damage Sorry, I'm all over the place right here. I don't think they want to damage the Switch's sales in the holiday season when they don't need to. So I think if they announce it this year, this fall possibly, it could come out by the holidays. So
that would be insane. Such a short turn. Like we knew, like I'm thinking of the Series X and PS5. We got like those announcements like a year ahead of time. But here it's like, oh, you're telling me this is a new piece of hardware coming out in like 3 or 4 months? It's not too unlike the Nintendo Switch, right? Because that was announced in October, came out in March. But even then, that's like, how many months is that? Like
it's 6 months. It was 6 months.
6 months, right. Yeah. So are you thinking like we could see an announcement as soon as... I don't feel like they would announce it before Pikmin 4 comes out.
No. I think it'd be in the latter half of the year for sure. And I think probably closer to late summer, fall, for release possibly in, say, November. Again, this is all speculation. I have no idea. I could be totally off base. Maybe it won't come out for 3 years. Who knows? But I feel like they don't need to do... The reason they announced the Switch early was because the Wii U was dead. The Wii U was completely dead at that point. They weren't cutting off any sales for the holiday season. It did not matter. They needed people to know about their paradigm shift of a console coming out the following year. They don't need to do that in this case, I don't think. Unless it ends up being a dramatic shift from what we know the Switch to be. I don't think it makes sense to give it that much of a lead up, particularly if they're treating it as more of a softer generation successor rather than, the hard reboot that we discussed already.
Yeah, I could see it coming out at the end of this year as well. The thing I guess I'm thinking the most about is that we've got this Mario bundle that we've got to sell. And I think the Mario bundle explains why we have yet to announce the Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED.
It's not the Mario bundle is not even an OLED too.
I know. But yeah, but they would never, dude. They must have so many of these things sitting somewhere. I would love
without a price drop too.
Yeah, they're and really quick, because I find this hilarious. They bundle in a game, and in all of Nintendo's press, they go and bundling in a game, that's a $60 value. But for the same Mario Day promotion, all of the games in that bundle are being discounted to $40. So it's not a $60 value.
That's true.
Oh my
Wow,
God.
that's
We
that's
got a-
amazing.
We got a super chat from Matthew. Thanks for the super chat. Announce it in the June Direct, release it in November. I mean, we kind of talked about like, and we don't feel like they'd announce it before Pikmin 4 comes out in July. So probably not. But again, we're just spitballing here. This thing is probably not even coming out this year. Who knows? So
Oh, but yeah, what I was saying was, yeah, so I think you got to sell your Mario bundle first, but that's easy. We got a quick turnaround. That's coming out next week.
Yep.
And then we let that sit for a little while. And then you start talking about the next OLED. You know, this is how they always do it. It's like you have to announce your Splatoon OLED, and then you let that go. Then you announce your Pokemon OLED, then you let that go. So next we will be hearing about the Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED for sure.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that will come out, and that will probably come out 2 weeks before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, I would guess.
Yep.
And then the question becomes, what is the piece of hardware being pushed for the holiday season? Is it another bundle? Is it a Switch? Is it an OLED? And just based on what we know about the games right now, I kind of think it makes sense for the Zelda OLED to be maybe the last push of that. And then for us to push something else in the fall. It just makes sense to me. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting because I feel like whenever their summer direct is, assuming there is one, which there probably will be, that's going to, I feel like, answer a lot of potential questions as to what's happening. Like, if there is no summer direct, I think that kind of tells us, all right, we could possibly be getting a successor announcement later in the year. If there is, if they just lay out like a whole bunch of more Switch games that, that we didn't know about before, I think that might also be like, okay, maybe the Switch successor isn't coming this year. Maybe that's more of a next year thing. So I think we're going to know a lot more here in a few more months, and that will be interesting.
I wasn't on your guys' discussion about Nintendo skipping E3, but I feel like them skipping E3 is very sus.
That's actually a really good point. That and something else that I don't want to specifically cite, and it's not a huge thing, but like it's these things are kind of all coming together right now. I feel like the timing is starting to feel more right than it ever has before for a successor of some kind's announcement to be made at some point this year. Because yeah, this, it could just be that Nintendo just didn't want to be 83, but also it could be like, no, it just doesn't work out for our timing right now. We don't want to promote our next Switch yet. We've got games coming forward that we can't show off until that Switch is announced. And I think you might be touching on something there, Joey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we got a super chat from Randy. Thank you, Randy. Do you think Nintendo will ever have a conventional home console again like Sony and Microsoft? I miss the home console and handheld separate. If Nintendo ever does a conventional console again, that's going to be a very, very long time from now. If like the handheld gaming market somehow completely is obliterated by smartphones, right? But you're never going to see another handheld console again. Jake actually did a video about that. So you should check that out.
Baby. They don't even know how to make those games anymore.
I'm going to add an asterisk to that. I think there is a possibility we get a TV-only version of the Switch or a Switch. But I think the base model, until, as you said, the market collapses, it's always going to be a hybrid. It does not make sense to stray from what's working right now. And it's working great for them. We also had a super chat from Andreas, I believe, who says, still no memberships, RIP. Andreas, I have good news for you. It's actually in the works. It's legit set up. We have it ready to go, at least for the emojis and badges. So stay tuned. We're going to have that out soon. You can have your membership finally. I appreciate the enthusiasm. We're finally going to have it. Should be hopefully not too long, so appreciate that.
Oh, I thought that was about like Nintendo memberships, and I was like, what are you talking about, man?
No, I think the people are just really enthusiastic about having them on the channel, and I love that. So we're going to have it for you. Cool. We've got them ready to go, so stay tuned. Happening soon. Thank you for the super chat.
Cool. This isn't a super chat, but this is a really good comment from Terra News. What would be the launch game for the next console?
That is a fun question.
That is a very fun question.
It makes you wonder, like, okay, let's say we are like pushing the graphics, or we're pushing it's like, what game do you put alongside that to do those things? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
There's been a lot of talk that Metroid Prime 4 would be one of them. It's weird because my mind has changed about this completely now. I've heard like people say like, well, Metroid's not a big seller, so why would you launch a game like Metroid on a next gen console? Zelda makes sense, Metroid not so much. But have you seen the sales for Metroid Prime Remastered, man? Let's go.
Do we have a number about that, Joey? Do we have any kind of idea?
We don't, but it was last I checked, it was still #1 on the eShop.
That's okay.
Even
that's cool.
3 weeks later. So
Take that, Kirby.
I'm not I'm not saying it's still not selling as much as like a Kirby, a Zelda, or a Mario, but it's not exactly like as the way people talk about how much Metroid sells, they act like it's like like F-Zero or something, where it just sells like dirt or it doesn't exist anymore. But it's like, no, people are interested in Metroid. It's
My impression is this outsells Dread easily.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's my
Prime
impression.
Remastered or Prime 4?
Prime Remastered.
Yeah, easily.
Okay.
Especially at
Yeah.
$40 instead of 60.
I feel like the
Come on.
enthusiasm is there for Prime Remastered in a way that I did not see it there for Dread. But maybe that's the Jake bubble. I don't know.
I'm not sure either. But we got another super chat from Rafe Alfaro. Hi guys, do you think the Switch will become the best-selling console of all time? Also, I do think the next console needs to be a hybrid to keep sales momentum going. Cheers. Agreed. Does need to be a hybrid, and I think it's going to be. It could. That's the thing, right? I feel like it could, because it's getting there. It's getting real close.
What does it need to be?
Like 30 million, I think, a little under 30 million at this point to beat the PS2 and Nintendo DS.
Yeah, especially
Man, that's a lot. I don't know.
was
I
thinking-
think it's at 120 now. Those two are both at 150, 154, 155 respectively. So
Yeah, it depends on if Nintendo cheats, like they did with the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, by counting them like the same as the same console.
that's why I kind of want this just to be like not a true successor, just so we can make sure we get that Switch up to that #1 slot. So
This is just based on hearsay. I did see an enthusiasm for that Mario bundle that I did not expect. I think that might be hitting with like families and kids in a way that we don't realize.
Bro, ties into the Mario movie.
Mario movie
like,
stickers,
perfect.
baby. Yep.
Yeah. So it could get the bump. I don't know. And then Tears of the Kingdom, is that another big bump? I don't know.
Yeah, Tears
Perhaps.
of the Kingdom. That I think that will be a bump. I don't know how big of a bump. It's gonna be a big one. Like this is a huge game. Like, and
Yeah.
again, Nintendo hasn't even properly started their marketing machine for this thing yet.
Right.
So Tears of the Kingdom is going to be huge. It's going to give the Switch another like big boost throughout the entire year, I imagine.
People who already have a Switch are going to buy that Zelda bundle.
And that's
and
what I'm thinking too,
There's a lot
Joey.
of Zelda fans.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
Circle back real quick to a launch game. I think it depends on how Nintendo's treating this next gen system. If it's a true successor in the vein of previous Nintendo generations, where it basically is a new starting point, 3D Mario, lock it in. There's no way to launch it without a Mario or Zelda. Obviously, Zelda's not going to happen. It would have to be Mario. I don't think they're going to do that, though, because, again, I think they're going to go for the softer generation thing. And I think in that case, Metroid would make a ton of sense. Like, that's a great way of boosting Metroid sales and just kind of raise awareness for the new Switch hardware at the same time. I think it would that makes complete sense, especially with, I imagine, Metroid Prime 4 kind of being a technical showpiece. Like, the remaster already looks so freaking good. You have a game that's built to take advantage of the new hardware as well. Bam, there you go. That's how you sell it. And I think it would work across both generations, though. So,
Oh, totally. It would have to. Like they said, now in development for Switch, it's going to stay on Switch and whatever comes next.
Declan says Hunters
any-
are the showpiece for Nintendo DS. Oh. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad point. It's
Yo, that game was fun.
My roommate just
wanna-
rebought the Metro Prime Hunter. He's been playing it nonstop, so he's obsessed with it.
I played it earlier this year. It's
Wow.
a good time. Yeah, no, it's a good time. I don't want to activate any kind of curse, but just clear your mind. Switch successor. We show off Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe.
Deluxe.
Wait, okay. As a new product, as a free update.
It has its own box. It is.
No. Oh no, that's gonna annoy people, I think. Not that really
Of course
matters.
It's gonna annoy people, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna.
It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't mean anything. I can't see Nintendo doing that. I think they could. I think they could in the sense that they would offer as a free update to existing game owners. Like,
Okay.
hey, you own the current one, you get the free update to Deluxe. But I could see them largely treating it as a new SKU at the same time. Like, hey, this updated, better version of the game is now out, but it's a free update for those who have it. So,
Because I kind of imagine part of the Switch successor that we're kind of circling in this discussion, I could see part of the conversation being something like, hey, here's a game you're all already playing. Here's how it is over here, thanks to this update. I could see that being part of a demonstration. So it would not surprise me if the Switch successor reveal is accompanied by, like, we don't, obviously it's coming out this summer, but I could see it getting pushed further because Tears of the Kingdom is that big of a title.
Wait, hold on real quick.
Mario-
Thinking about this more, if they made a Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe, what are they going to drop? What feature gets dropped from this game? Because Nintendo's Deluxes usually aren't, they're always missing something. Always missing something from the original game.
You can't make cars.
Yeah, no grass. No grass in the deluxe version.
Bro, isn't the point of a next-gen game or a next-gen port to add more grass?
Yeah, it should be.
That's literally the difference between Elden Ring on PS4 and PS5. The PS5 version just has more grass. That's it.
All right, sorry, Jake, you were going somewhere.
Yeah, a new Mario is a little harder for me to see as a Switch successor showpiece, just because I feel like, and maybe my imagination is just not fruitful enough. I feel like it's harder to get the point across, especially if we're talking about visuals.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Mario Odyssey, when it came out, that was like the best looking Switch game at the time.
I agree, and that's kind of what I'm saying, Joey. Is that am I gonna see a Mario game that distinctly I go, "Oh, Mario Odyssey," more like Mario Garbage-y.
If it looks anything like the Mario movie, I think that would be a good
dang,
point.
Andre. Oh. That would be outrageous. Yeah. That would be sick. Oh, man.
That would be. My goodness. Yeah, like, I feel like it could be a good showpiece. I mean, let's think about it, too. Like, Mario 64, that was the showpiece. That was the showpiece of all time. But, we can't get showpieces like that anymore because the jump from 2D to 3D was just... We're never going to see a jump like that again. But I still feel like it could be a 3D Mario could be still a really, really good showpiece. Like, don't underestimate 3D platformers. Remember Astrobots or Astro's Playroom on PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
That was it.
That was good.
That's true.
Killer
there's
app.
some good ideas in the chat right now. I like the boldness of OJK 1999 saying a brand new Star Fox experience. Day one. Showing off the graphics, the speed.
That's how you tank your Switch successor, by launching with Star Fox.
Yes.
Well, and then on the other side of it, we've got Oliver in the chat and Declan D, who say Mario Kart launch title. And I just want to say, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think you gotta spend some time getting more units into people's hands, so you get those day one sales.
Exactly.
So you can't have like something as quite as Mario Kart is literally, I think, number one. You can't go day one with your number one.
You can't.
Yeah, I don't think Mario Kart's ever been a launch title. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, no, it never has been. I think it's always been.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 8 Deluxe came out like a month or a month and a half after the Switch. It was close, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't like day one.
It's also a deluxe.
Yeah,
right.
Which I think changes things.
We're about to go, bro. Next year we'll have played Mario Kart 8 for 10 straight years.
I was thinking that.
Oh,
freaking wild.
Absolute
God.
Absolute. Birdo is back.
You have to go to Universal Studios for your Mario Kart 9 attraction.
Or pick up Mario Kart Live home circuit.
I go back to the past and I whisper in your ear, I go, Birdo is back in one decade.
We had a video forever ago. I'm like, is Birdo being teased in Mario Kart? And finally it paid off after all these years.
We got a super chat from Jer Rare Bear. Thank you so much. Brings up a good point too. Donkey Kong Country was a technical showcase for the Super Nintendo. Imagine a new Donkey Kong game being the launch title for the next Nintendo console. It's almost been a decade since the last DK game. There was a rumor like a few years back that they were working on a new Donkey Kong game. Where's that? Where is that? And I was just saying for that a while back I did a news update on the Donkey Kong Mario movie poster, and I'm just like, I would love to see a Donkey Kong game that looks as good as that poster. And then Andre got mad at me on Discord for saying that, because Tropical Freeze is a beautiful game, sure, but look at that lighting on that
dude
poster.
I think they're gonna redesign Donkey Kong. I think they really like the Mario movie model. I think it's coming. I've been thinking this for a while. I don't know about that. I think it's coming. They're gonna change that, man.
The only reason why they changed it for the movie was because they couldn't have the models look exactly like they do in the game. That was probably Nintendo telling them, make them look a touch different.
I think they like it.
I think they like it. It's a good model.
We'll see. Maybe when we see how Donkey Kong looks at the Donkey Kong expansion at Universal Studios Japan, that'll give us a clue as to what they may be going for. So,
wow, that's a good point. That really would. Whoa.
But yeah, I'm down for a new Donkey Kong. I think we're definitely overdue for a new 3D Donkey Kong as well. I would love to see a 3D take on that series, and that could look truly spectacular on a next gen system.
Is that the Mario Odyssey team?
That was the rumor a few years ago at this point now, and
really?
we have not heard anything since. So
we heard it. They were leaning more toward the rumors were leaning more towards the 2D side, but there was never really like a solid. But they're rumors anyway, right? There is no solid confirmation of anything. But yeah, I'm leaning like you don't make a 2D game a launch title. Like you don't.
I mean, I feel like
Joey, that's the fear. That's the fear.
Right?
they did that on the Wii U, and look how well that worked out with Mario.
Exactly. Even though it was still one of the better selling Wii U games too. So it's just like stop buying.
Like I feel like they might have done that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like that might have also been 3DS. Was that the too many coins?
I don't know if that was a
New
launch
Super Mario
title.
Bros. It wasn't a launch
Was
title.
that a launch?
No.
No.
Okay.
It was shortly after though. I don't think it was launch. Wait.
Cool.
You know, actually, if not, it was real close. They did announce it before the system came out. Anyways, Quinn Halla, I think, says the fact Miyamoto pointed out DK's redesign specifically could mean that design will be used in the games too. That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like Miyamoto's a big fan.
Title. It came out in July in Japan, August Europe. Anyway, go on.
So sorry, it was not a launch title, but it was in.
It was
March,
not.
right?
It came out. Yeah, it came out in the summer of.
Oh, of course. Palo Wings was their big launch title. How could we forget?
Oh yeah, New Super Mario Bros. 2 came out a freaking
Palo
year
Wings
later.
and Palo Wings and Steel Diver were their big 3DS launch titles.
God bless. I mean,
for me, it was
4.
Street Fighter 4. Yeah, dude, Street Fighter 4. That game, that was awesome on 3DS.
That was pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, right. 3DS. Those early days of the 3DS. What a crazy time to be alive.
Crazy time. It was slow, but it was fun.
Yeah. I was playing Pokemon Black and White too. Yikes.
Ceteri, yes, I would love Apollo Wings VR. I do selfishly hope that VR is an angle, not the angle, but an angle for the Switch successor. Just because I feel like Nintendo, what they've already shown in the Labo VR were just so fun. They were simple experiences, but they were so fun. And the fact you can play one of the best games of all time, being Breath of the Wild by too many, in VR only enhanced it to me, even if it was running at sub 3DS resolutions, but it was amazing. I would love for Nintendo to explore that space more, and I think they actually had the platform to do it, because you could, as we saw with Labo, you can augment the system for pretty cheap and make it a fairly competent VR machine, especially with, whatever other upgrades the Switch successor has. I don't know if they would, but I would love, because I want to play like Palo Wings in VR. That could be a ton of fun. So
Andre, so selfishly, right there with you. Dude, VR, Nintendo with VR in their hands, developing games that are not focused on high fidelity graphics, not focused on shooting guns, just to see what they would do in that space, I think would be so exciting. And I think it would really give them something to point to say, this is what we're doing on our platform that nobody else is doing. And that could not be replicated.
It's tough, though, because Reggie shared something this week showing how niche VR is and how niche it's expected to be.
Hold on, though.
It's bad.
Reggie's point, but Reggie's specific point was that it needs a killer app. And that's what Nintendo
so you're saying
excels
Nintendo
at.
wants to provide a killer app to make VR the killer part.
Metroid Prime 4 VR, lock it in. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I think it's Mario Kart. I think it would be Mario Kart.
Mario Kart would be huge.
That'd be one of them at least.
I think they would. Yeah, they've definitely thought about it.
I mean, there has been that Mario Kart VR arcade machine, which is limited. Yeah, but that does exist. So they have dabbled with it, especially again with Mario Kart AR at Universal Studios. So
picture this in your mind. We put on our Switch VR headsets. We bring back the Wii wheel with our Joy-Con. We slot our Joy-Con into a wheel. And here we are, Mario Kart.
I love that freaking wheel, Jake. I'm the biggest wheel and Wii Zapper fan you're gonna find out there. Sign me up.
Wait, Andre, we could do the pedal too. Take a second Joy-Con, do the pedal. Do
yes,
the pedal.
Genius.
Oh,
love it. There we go. See, nailed it. You killed it. Figured it out, Jake.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, actually, in Labo actually had the whole vehicle kit too, where you could like use the wheel and everything. Yeah, man, good times.
Fun.
All right. I want to know for sure. I want to know like what our temperature gauge is at on. Do we see is the Switch successor being released this year? I gotta know now. I want to know. Or actually, will we at least? Actually, I want to do two things. Will we see it
Do you
this
want
year?
to do a
And is it being
poll,
released?
Andre? Do you want to make a poll?
Yeah, we can do a poll too. Sure.
Let's do a poll. Yeah.
All right, but I don't want us looking at the poll though before we answer ourselves. So I want to.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I won't look at it. I'm minimizing the window right now.
Minimizing.
Yeah. Why was there a timer on you, Jake?
I clicked something I wasn't supposed to click. I'm so sorry.
All right, I'm asking. All right, I'm not gonna look at the poll either. All right, Joey, let us know. Are we gonna see the Switch 2, and will it launch this year? Whatever successor it is. Yeah.
We'll see it this year. I'm still not confident it's launching this year. I would love it, but I want to be cautious here, you know.
Okay. Jake?
I need to consult with my business partner.
Oh jeez.
Okay, I'll tell him. Yes.
All right.
Yes. We will see it launching this year. Lock it in.
I need. Okay, I like that. I appreciate that, Jake. Well, I also need to check with my business partner here.
Okay.
So also in a pipe.
Am I the only one who doesn't have a business partner?
Quiet, Joey. I'm trying to listen. All right. Okay. Yeah. No. Piranha Plant here said that Jake is right as well, and that we will see it and it will launch this year.
Piranha Plant Party?
Yeah. Oh, Piranha Plant Party. Yes. The true brains behind GameXplain.
I don't have him, but I have. This is my business partner.
Turbo Man.
He said the same thing. No, it is not coming this year.
I don't know, I can't wait to come back in a few months and be like, yeah, we were all stupid. Like, we're not saying the Switch 2 at all this year. Yes.
All right, should we look at the poll now?
Oh yeah, the poll. Wow, poll. Wow, we are apparently way off base according to the poll. Well, I asked specifically, will it launch this year? 25% say yes. 69% say no, and 6% don't care. So most people do care, but most people are saying it won't launch this year. So it's interesting. Yeah, we're gonna see. I think lock it in that by the end of next year, 100% we will have a Switch successor. But I'm still kind of like I wouldn't bet on it this year, even though I did vote yes, essentially. But I am trending toward the possibility of it coming out this year. I'm like, things are kind of lining up, but they go.
I agree. I think the smooth transition comments are in my head too, where I think that actually implies it will be, because I think there's a world in which it doesn't come out until fall of 2024, and I think there's also a world in which that happens, and I'm like totally okay with that.
Right.
I don't think that's super crazy, but I do think part of the smooth transition, part of it being Nintendo not trying to like have a Wii U level drop off, is going to be just kind of introducing this hardware early, selling it to the core people in the fall, getting the good word of mouth, and then just kind of pushing it over time, over and over again. And for that reason, because I think the alternative is, will they kind of like try to repeat what they did with the Switch and launch it in like the spring, March space? And I just don't see them doing that again. I just don't see that being the necessary move here, since we're not coming off of something like the Wii U.
So you think it'll come out in a holiday, whether it's this holiday or next holiday?
Yeah, I do.
I can kind of, it's weird, right? Because I do think they might want to repeat that success of releasing it during the spring, but then you run into the possibility of like, oh, you're gonna announce this before the holiday, and then it's gonna eat into your holiday sales, which is not a problem they had during the Wii U, because nobody was gonna buy a Wii U in holiday 2016. So
yeah, I go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I guess because Joey, I think that's a good point, and I think like, the thing that makes I'm trying to account for Nintendo randomness, I guess, is the headline here.
It's so crazy.
So sometimes I go, okay, what's my natural instinct? Don't do that. And I think my natural instinct would be release it sometime that's not in the holidays, because your core is going to get it. Start the word of mouth there, so that you do have the big holiday push with other people that are not part of that getting it day zero. Like, that just makes sense to me. But which is why I'm saying it will come out this holiday.
Now that I'm thinking about it more, it's like Nintendo they're probably not going to need it this holiday. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Maybe they won't. Maybe they don't have any other big games for the Switch. I doubt that. But yeah, the thing is, I think they could drop a successor at any time. It'll instantly sell out no matter what. So really, releasing it during the holidays almost seems like a waste, because that's momentum you can have at any time. You're going to sell out regardless, I imagine. and you don't need a holiday boost specifically for the platform. So I could see like an early to mid year release next year possibly, if it's not shown off or launched this year. Because
The real Sean Stewart in the chat agrees. It says, Jake, your birthday is so close to the Switch's birthday. It was meant to be. And now I feel like we're talking about this early next year thing. You know, my birthday is also the same day as the launch of the PlayStation Vita. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. We could see like an even earlier, like a February launch for a console.
Yeah, that's my birthday.
I don't know. When did the Wii come out?
November.
November.
21st,
November?
I think.
Okay.
21st, 24th.
What about the Wii U?
November 18th.
Almost every Nintendo platform in recent times, except for the Switch, launched in November or near the holiday season.
What's up with that?
Besides handhelds.
They're trying to get the Wii U out of people's minds. So I think March 2017 was the absolute earliest they could have come out with the Switch, and that's what they decided to do. Also, but their handhelds come out in the springtime, from what I could tell.
Game Boy Advance did. DS was
3DS
November still.
did.
3DS, yeah, you're at 3DS, yeah, that's true. So, and yeah, Switch is right in the line. Like, it's a console, it's a handheld, it's its own thing, and it goes in either direction. It is what it wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Any other thoughts on the Switch's 6th anniversary today?
How has it been 6 years? It's I wonder if it's because the Wii U generation felt so long to me, and I could hear the jokes coming because you were waiting so long for games to come out on the Wii U, Joey. There was so many software gaps. True. But also, I don't know, maybe I was just reaching that point in my life where I started working more, and time goes by much. Kids, when you get older and you start working full-time jobs or even part-time jobs where you get a lot of hours, time goes by way faster. And I think the Switch came out at that pivotal point in my life where time is just running by. It's running too by. Cherish every moment, kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely part of that. Like, every year seems quicker than the last, which is scary. But even beyond that too, I mean, I was working, obviously I was doing GameXplain during the Wii U era, and that still felt like a long era to me, and I was around your age then. And I think it's because there was just not much going on. Whereas, like, with the Switch, like, look at the past few days. It has been ridiculous. Nintendo's had, like, non-stop announcements. Not necessarily the, game-changing announcements, but, like, they've had things almost every day for the past few weeks, it seems, or every few days. And it's crazy that this is a platform that's 6 years old, and it doesn't feel like it, They shadow dropped and, Metroid Prime Remastered, and that blew up. And that game still looks amazing, to the point where, like, it could almost be, this is a slight exaggeration, but it could almost be mistaken for like an Xbox or PlayStation game, like at first glance. Like, it looks that good. It's like, damn, that's a good looking game. Yeah. And the fact that it doesn't feel like it's on its last legs at all says a lot about the platform. And I think too, even regardless of when the Switch successor comes out, I think this is going to see a lot of success for years to come. Whether beyond just selling more, but also I think we're going to see games coming out on this system for a long time, even if they don't officially, or even if they're not officially supported on the next generation as well. So I think that's awesome. I love that we have a successful Nintendo console again, where there's really no signs of it ending anytime soon. No obvious signs of it ending.
Yeah. Since this is the Switch 6th anniversary stream as well, I just wanted to give some shout outs to some things I love about the Switch that I hope continue. I don't think either of you uses it as much as me. I love the kickstand. I love the kickstand.
I like this kickstand. I don't like the first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But even the first one, I played almost the entirety of Breath of the Wild, like sitting on my couch with like a little table on the arm, with a Pro Controller, with the Switch like sitting right there next to me, and that's how I played that game. And I was like, this is an experience. And it was awesome. Yeah.
You know what I did at first? Me and my girlfriend, now wife, were like long distance, so I was on the phone with her a lot through FaceTime. What I would do is I'd prop the Switch on top of my refrigerator, I would stand up playing the game with my Joy-Cons to my side, like next to my hips. Because I was just like, okay, I don't remember why I was standing. I think I was also doing something at the time, like waiting for my rice to cook or something. So I would, Yeah, so I was just
Wait, Joey, are you like really tall?
I'm 6'5".
Oh my god!
Yes.
That's
I
why
had no
Joey's head is
idea.
cut off right now in our discussion.
Yep.
It's peeking over the
Joey,
edge.
Joey, you said you put it on top of your fridge, and I'm like, to keep it cold?
My
overheating.
fridge was. I was taller than my fridge. I'm taller than my current fridge still. So.
Man, yeah, please.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just other things. I think the Joy-Con for what they are really cool. I like that they maintain like motion controls and that those show up every now and then in games. I almost wish that they showed up a little more often, just because I like, especially with VR stuff now, I'm reminded of how much, when it's done well, I really actually can like motion controls and have a fun, unique experience with them. And just like the way they fit in your hand, I think is really nice too for that purpose. Also, shout out to the Switch for like, as somebody that's like in this space, I think sometimes it is like so hard to get my like IRL friends that aren't super into games to like get it or understand or see something. And with the Switch, like pulling this puppy out, putting it on a table, handing them a Joy-Con, being like, you know, Mario Kart, right? And then they're in. It's like so cool. I think my girlfriend's last video game experience before the Switch was she got like a Nintendo DS as a kid and played 2D Mario and like Nintendogs, and that was it. And being like, hey, here's the Switch, here's New Super Mario Brothers U. I turned around and like 2 days later she beat that game. I was like, what has happened? So it just the its ability to have so little friction that it can bring people in like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. I definitely had that experience early on in the Switch where this was when I was still touring, doing stand-up comedy. So I'm on planes all the time. And dude, I had that experience where I'm sitting there, I prop it up, and the person next to me goes, what is this? And I go, here's a Joy-Con, buddy. You're in for the flight of your life. I'll never forget those things.
Oh man, I just like in the break room when I was working at Cinemark, like that was what we did all the time. I was like the only one. It was me and another coworker who's actually my neighbor now. Very weird stuff. We would play Switch like that, and we would just with the Joy-Con side by side. We have a debate in the chat. Andre, how tall are you? Because
I'm 6'1".
Because I don't. Yeah, I was like, you're not
Jesus
short.
Christ.
I was like, I've met you in person like multiple times, and I know like you're you're pretty tall, so you're above 6
I'm
foot.
not Jake's height, apparently, going by the chat comments.
5'10's not short either, so.
Mr. Clean had predicted Jake as being 5'2", so.
No, I understand. It's listen, I'm the tallest person in my family by far. So
Nice.
It's like a miracle. It is a my sweet Cuban mother's like 5 feet tall. Bless her soul.
How tall is your dad?
5'8".
Oh, so you're taller than him too. So you. beat
Yeah,
him.
no, I'm
Nice.
yeah. Dude, so grateful.
We're all taller than Tom Cruise. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Tom Arnold, our own Tom, but I think you
How tall
probably
is Tom?
are.
Is
Tom's
he a tall guy?
Yeah, he's like
Okay,
he's probably 6'2", maybe 6'2", I think. So.
Okay, I know I've met him too, along with the rest of the crew way back when. So yeah, I don't remember how tall he was, but I'm probably going to see him again. So that's going to be.
Oh,
fun.
that's right. GDC, that should be that's
right.
coming up soon. So GDC, PAX, yeah, and I guess what was it shown that Nintendo booth at PAX is a Nintendo Versus booth apparently. So nothing too big probably going to be shown off there. So
We're not going to get that Tears of the Kingdom booth.
Wait, really quick though, do you guys have any standout Switch memories from the past 6 years that you're that like, I don't know, just stir some sentiment or nostalgia in you?
I mean, I guess in terms of like covering it, you know, being at the reveal event in New York for the Switch, going hands-on with it for the first time when they were showing off 1-2 Switch, like that was a memorable experience. Yeah, and then of course, the fact that around this time, my dad started getting into gaming, so like the Switch really appealed to him, and he got obsessed with Breath of the Wild, which is a surprisingly accessible game despite being, a very involved game, and that's part of the magic of that. And I think it can be undersold too. This is also the 6th anniversary of Breath of the Wild, which we've barely even talked about. And that, I think that had I think that and the Switch worked so well as a pair. It showed like this is a serious console. Like was arguably the best open world experience only available on this handheld device. So this thing can carry around with you. That this tiny little thing can give you access to one of the biggest worlds in gaming. That was awesome. Like what a great way of selling your system. And it's the kind of thing that I said before, only Nintendo was in the position to do because Sony and Microsoft they couldn't make a Switch. The hardware wouldn't have allowed them to make a successor to their platforms that was more powerful than what they had before. Nintendo is so, in a way, so lucky that the Wii U was their platform before it because it let them set up this as their next generational console, and it ended up working out for them. And I think to your point too, Jake, like I think the Joy-Cons are almost like really undersold as like this really clever input method. Like I can just slide them off. You have two controllers instantly, even if they're not great, but they work. And it's such a cool idea, and I hope that the Switch successor builds on that. It's something that I wish the Steam Deck had explored themselves, rather than I know you like the self-contained units, but I actually really like the Joy-Cons as an optional control input.
Yeah,
so.
For some reason I can't, because I have like one of those split pad things, not from Hori, it's from another brand that I forget the name of. And those felt, yes, Binbach, thank you. Gotcha. Yeah, and they're good. But for some reason, I just prefer using the Joy-Cons. Like, I feel like it's not just that they're lighter. I feel like their round curves fit in my hand better, too. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. There's something about having the Joy-Cons on the Switch that just can't be replicated to me. Like, even if the Binbach ones, I guess, are technically more comfortable, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Just want a taller stick. That's it.
It's weird though because I feel like that'd be counterproductive to have a taller stick because the Switch is portable.
I know but I've given up on that dream, and now I just have like a big chunky Switch case. I've got it right next to me, by the way. I love this thing.
Ooh, wow, that is a thick boy.
Yeah, that's well protected.
Yeah. Oh no, it's awesome. I got a bunch of games.
I'm still using my. Do I even have it? No, I don't. But I still am using my special edition Breath of the Wild case that I got day one. I've been using that. And my Switch Pro controller. I have nothing next to me. Here it is. This thing has been lasting me 6 years now, and there's
on
no
a single
drip.
Charge. That's amazing.
No.
Shout out Pro Controller though. Pro Controller rules. That is a great controller. Yeah,
I know their D-pad I guess sucks, but like it's fine. I love this controller. It's so. All I ask for the next Pro Controller, give me those analog triggers.
Somebody in the chat, brought that up too, Joe.
A couple people now. Both it was Crest of Honor and now Robutacular. It says yes, analog triggers would be great, especially if they make GameCube games available. F-Zero GX would be amazing on Switch. Yeah, they've ran into this issue a little bit already with like Mario Sunshine, where they just turned into a digital feature. Yeah. But yeah, I love. I mean, I'm still the biggest GameCube controller proponent, and I use it any chance I can on Switch, which isn't too often. But yeah, I would love they brought back like that style of analog triggers in particular. Those just felt good. Like the now resistance was perfect. I love the click at the end, and even like the groove. They had like this little groove of your fingers. Sublime. Why has no one else done this? Like on the PS4, my fingers will slide off the trigger constantly, and I don't know why no one's been able to master these. The triggers like Nintendo did 20 years ago.
No idea.
Somebody in the chat also asked for each of our favorite Switch games from the past 6 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, Metroid Prime Remastered. So.
It's tough. It's tough because honestly, there are
for me, Jake.
Yeah, Joey, it makes me so happy for you that this exists. By the way,
you need to tell me your thoughts on it too, because I know you said it was a banger on Twitter.
And I've been playing it. I have thoughts too. Yeah.
But I do want to shout out because Metroid Prime's an obvious one for me.
Yeah.
I feel like the one that's left the biggest impression on me is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Wow.
That was a game that shocked me to my core. Not because, like, ghosts. I picked it up thinking... right. I picked it up thinking it was going to be fine. Like, this is going to be a good game. My mind was blown at how just absolutely great it was. Just the quality of the visuals, the animations just looked straight out of a Pixar film or something. Yeah. I said, whoever's working on this, work on the Mario movie, just do it. And and the gameplay was fun too. The levels were super creative. The bosses were creative too. I only played it once, and I keep telling myself I need to play it again every October because I need to play it during October. What else would I play it? So
For real.
making it my goal this year to play it again. That game is probably in my top 5 Switch games. I don't know about number 1, but it's in my top, maybe even 3. Like, I was shocked at how good it was. It was my game of the year. Yeah, it was my game of the year 2019. So,
wow, yeah, that's awesome. Real quick, BRX Athartic with their first super chat. Thank you so much. Says, my cousin and I played Skyrim. One with each Joy-Con was a really fun experience. Yeah, you can make any game a co-op game with the Joy-Cons. It's amazing.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I love
Yo,
that.
shout out to Skyrim. My first time ever playing Skyrim was on Nintendo Switch. Had the time of my life. Loved it.
That was the first time I beat the main story. So I was just like,
Ooh.
that's the power of the Switch. I can bring Skyrim anywhere.
Fun game, Skyrim. Yeah.
Favorite games? I mean, I'm a Mario boy, so I've got Mario Odyssey is still like one of the peak experiences I've had in recent years. That game was just such a fun experience the entire way, and it hit me in a way too, like so hard that no other Mario game has. Or like it literally brought me to tears a handful of times, which very few games do. Largely nostalgia, obviously, but I'm like, it was such a joyful experience. I had a blast with it, but also Bowser's Fury too. I love that game. I think it was undersold by being just combined with Mario 3D World. I think that could have been a standalone game, and I would have loved it.
Seriously.
And I hope that they build on that idea. Like, I think that game finally married the idea. I think that's the best example of like, taking the 2D mechanics into a 3D space. And I think it did what 3D Land and 3D World is trying to do better than either. Although 3D World was improved on Switch as well, which I appreciated. And then also shout out, I mentioned it before already, I had a blast with Labo VR. Legit, some of the most fun I've had on Switch and in VR, even if it is kind of baby's first VR, I had a blast with it. So, and not just because I had like the blaster, which you literally, shoot things with. So, good times.
That's awesome.
How do you, Jake?
That's so cool. The only time I've cried in Mario game was reading that storybook in Mario Galaxy. So
actually, that was the other Mario time that brought me to tears. That freaking Rosalina storybook.
Anytime I think about that song, I'm already crying.
Yeah.
Like I'm just sitting there and my wife's looking at me like, why are you crying? I'm just like, she just wanted to go home.
All right, Jake, what's your favorite experience?
Yeah, the Switch is a crazy one for me because I have so many goats that it's hard for me to just pick one. As somebody that has always bounced off of Zelda titles growing up, Breath of the Wild is easily one of my favorite games of all time. One of my favorite experiences that I've had in my life with gaming, having it with the Switch day one for sure. Mario Odyssey is everything I've ever wanted from a 3D Mario game. A Mario game that is focused on exploration is just thank you. So glad that is there. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the most I was ever excited about a Pokemon game since I was really a kid. Loved Legends Arceus. But for me, I think what it comes down to is the greatest entry in my favorite video game franchise of all time, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. The boldness to call it Ultimate. The lead up to it. It's so ridiculous, but there are so many little mechanics, little tweaks in that game that go such a long way for me. Being able to do a short hop attack by pressing the jump and the A button at the same time is so nice. Such an easy way for me to explain that to people, how that works, and to perform it. The DLC was just the ride of my life. Getting Joker in there, getting Sora in there. What a time to be alive. Banjo-Kazooie, dude. Yeah. And Smash is still one of those games that just never leaves my Switch, that I love going back to. That theme song, heck yeah, Noah. And really quick, since you brought it up, Andre, Mario 3D World, love that game. and I like didn't like it on Wii U. There
I
was
didn't
something
either.
in my brain chemistry that wasn't working. And
That
I
wasn't
really
that
think
for me, Jake. I'm sorry. That wasn't like the
no,
3D Mario game I wanted at the time. I was like, this is just 3D Land, but on
right.
Wii U. And that's why I feel like it works better on Switch because the Switch is a portable console. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, and I think the Switch also had the added benefit of just the way that Nintendo was situated at that moment in time. It was much easier for me to play multiplayer with my friends when it was on Switch than it was on Wii U. But also, I don't think we can undersell turning the speed up.
Oh
I
no,
like
it helped. It felt way better. Yeah.
yeah, I that like it changes it so dramatically that it really like has me thinking about how intense of a change it is just by making your character run faster. Like absolutely crazy. But yeah, the Switch great. Yeah.
Yep, that small
Dope.
boost definitely helped a lot. Real quick, a few more super chats. Wolf Phase says it's possible Pokemon. Is it is it a question or I think it's a question? Is it possible a Pokemon title releases with Switch 2? No.
No.
Pokemon
Yeah.
is never there day one,
No.
and this is not going to change. They don't need to be.
You know,
They
the
won't
question didn't say on launch day. I'm just kidding, but I think that's what they're asking. Would it like launch with Switch 2? No, definitely not.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. Also, Fist Zero, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've seen her name before. Thank you for the super chat. Says, in 6 years, I'm still waiting for a fully fleshed out party invite system. I've yet to see the home button turn blue for notifications. Shout out to the Wii plus more than two custom background colors. 1000%. Nintendo added this friendless functionality that even they barely use themselves. Jake and I spent literally 2 hours trying to figure out how that pool system works in Splatoon 3. I don't understand it. Like, a system that is so great at like local cooperative experiences or local social experiences, why are they so bad at the online thing now? I don't get it.
You think they'd be good at it by now, but they're worse at it than they were on Wii U. Ironically, it's baffling. We talk about Switch, great system, fantastic system, probably one of the best, if not the best, Nintendo console of all time. But they've still made some baffling decisions this generation, which I'm sure we'll talk more about, like in a video at some point when the Switch is about to be succeeded by another platform. But man, yeah, that online.
Will
dude.
I have the same friend code?
Why are friend codes even a thing, Jake? They weren't a thing on Wii U. You could just add somebody with their username. But for some reason, the Switch had to have friend codes. Yes.
No way.
I kid you not. It was as simple as adding someone else's username on Wii U. Wii U. And they went back, they backtracked for the Switch for some unknown reason. What? Cool.
I'll defend it. I used to hate the friend codes. I don't mind the implementation on Switch because it's like a phone number. It's unchanging. You have the one thing, and it allows you to change your screen name whenever you want. So I actually like that functionality. I don't mind it, even though it used to suck on Wii and DS. But yeah,
I hear you. I don't mind it that much either. It also it's kind of dumb, but the whole like if you follow each other on Twitter and link your thing, you can just quickly add people there. That's kind of nice.
That is nice. That's a nice little way around the stupid friend code.
What I like about that too is you can see where
my brother doesn't
have
from. My brother doesn't have Twitter though. How am I supposed to be? We're never going to be Switch friends. I'm just kidding.
Andre, you were saying?
Oh, what was I saying? I don't remember. Whatever.
What's nice about the social media thing? No? Okay.
Oh, just how you can see where the friend invites came from. That's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That is nice.
So it's like this guy you're friends with on Twitter, so they invited you there. So
yeah, it would be really cool to have I like just want voice chat parties on Switch. Like selfishly, I just like talking to my friends while we're
I don't think that's selfish
whatever.
at all. I think that should be a standard.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I know that's not like there's occasionally like this pure image of gaming of like what's important and what isn't. But the truth is that I just enjoy going on my PS5, playing whatever I'm gonna play, and I see like, oh, my brother Jesse came online. I hit him up. I'm like, I'm never gonna call my brother Jesse. I'm sorry. I love him. I will never dial his phone number and call, but I will talk to him on PlayStation. And it's a good time. And I don't know, it adds to my experience. I'd like to see that on Switch.
Yeah, that'd be that's definitely a lot of room for improvement they can in that segment in particular. Like, yeah, it's. I mean, one thing it's just annoying to like group up with people in general on the Switch. Like even in a single game like Splatoon, where it boots you out of your lobby every 2 hours, you have to rebuild it, or if you want to switch modes, you have to you have to close the lobby, make a new one again. It's just all very cumbersome, and it'd be nice if you could avoid that. Like if you could stick together as a party between games, that'd be amazing. So
I feel like we all showed up to a 6-year-old's birthday party just now, and we've been talking great everything that's great about them for over an hour, and now we're just talking about, all right, here's why you suck. Here's why you suck.
I mean, the thing is, like, no matter what, no matter how good the next system is, we're always going to have complaints. Like, that's always the case. There's always things that can do better, and I think, by and large, the Switch is an amazing piece of hardware. The fact that we're 6 years in, still talking about with no... again, official word of a successor on the way is truly something. And the fact that, again, kind of, as you were saying at the very beginning, Jake, like, I don't even feel like I need one at this point. I'm totally content with the Switch as it is. You know, when there is a new one, I'll pick it up. I'm sure I'll be happy with it, but I'm totally fine with this as a platform. I'm not, like, jonesing for, I'm like, oh, I need a new Switch right now. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'm good with it.
I do wonder if once we get our first taste of it, if a part of me really feels that the titillation will be off the charts, because the fact of the matter is that the technology increase in the past 6 years, I feel like we don't even know. Like, we don't even know what could be possible with a next generation handheld system like this. So there's a chance that when we do see it, it is like, whoa, man. Yeah. Now this feels like trash.
Now we're playing with power.
Yeah, exactly.
Power glove time, baby. Bringing it back.
Yeah. The switcheroo is what they call it.
There we go.
Oh, God. Please.
All right. I think we've largely exhausted our 6-year celebration for Nintendo Switch. But, yeah, pretty exciting that, you know, we're in this deep and the system's still surprising us. Maybe they'll shadow drop Prime 2 and 3 soon enough, Joey. So
let's hope. Let us hope.
Everyone,
so happy.
Thank you for joining us on the 6th anniversary celebration of Switch. Of course, stay tuned for more on the Switch in general, including possible news of a Switch successor whenever that actually may be. We'll see whether I'm right or not, whether any of us are right or not, including chat in our predictions. Chat doesn't think it's coming this year, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Have a good one. Bye.